We are joined in studio by my friend, long-term time friend, Matt. I looked back. I think I've interviewed you for the last 19 years.
Wow,
we have been doing this. And the first time I did it, it was with your band Sanctus Real, one of my favorite bands in Christian rock history. And I called your band Building 429, and I have never forgotten this. I've thought about it every day for 19 years. You had just won the GMA Duff Award for Rock Album of the Year. And I love that record. Let's Fight the Tide. And I go there and I say, here they are, Building 429. And you slip the card in and go, hey, it's Sanctus Real.
I've thought about it every day since too, Logan.
Okay, good. I'm glad that we mutually
I didn't even remember it.
Trust me, I do. And I think about it all the time. I want to jump right in, change the tone a bit. You have a brand new song. We're going to discuss the story behind it, the details behind it when you're done playing. But I want to make sure that we have enough time. It's called Church Hurt. Again, I've been pitching it the last two segments. Go to matthammitt.com to stream it, download it. I think it's an incredibly powerful song and a song that's much needed, especially for those of us who grew up in the faith, grew up in the church, and maybe had mixed experiences. And I think a lot of people are going through that still right now. So I'm going to let you take it from here, and then let's have some discussion after that. And then I'll also talk about some of the other work you're doing. So here's Matt Hammitt with Church Hurt.
Oh, I still talk about it. I say I let it go, but when those four walls fall, they can crush a faithful soul. I used to be so trusting, hung on every word. I thought I found my family, and then my whole world turned when I felt that church hurt. So hard to put into words, feeling stranded, abandoned. Thought we would end up with heaven on earth instead of this church hurt. Oh, we found ourselves down in the dirt, all of us imperfect people under a steeple, just trying to do God's work. And then there was church hurt. And lately I've been asking, did I really put my faith in someone higher than a person, in something bigger than a stage? When I felt that church hurt, so hard to put into words, feeling stranded, abandoned. Thought we would end up with heaven on earth instead of this church hurt. Oh, we found ourselves down in the dirt, all of us imperfect people under a steeple, just trying to do God's work. And then there was church hurt. There was church hurt. I felt the kiss of Judas. My heart has been betrayed. Oh, but if we're being honest, Lord, we treated you the same. 'Cause you felt that church hurt when your blood and tears hit the earth, when you were stranded, abandoned, all just to hand us heaven on earth. And I know your heart hurts. I know that you felt it first, but you love imperfect people under a steeple, and you did the work to heal this church hurt. Lord, heal your hurt, church.
How we end this, but I'll clap along. Man, that is such an incredible song. And you sent it to me a few months ago when you were working on it, and I played it for a few people. I was like, you have to hear this, because I think a lot of us have gone through this. A lot of us experienced this firsthand. But for you, I want to know, what sparked this, because it can't be an easy discussion, even as a Christian music artist. You turn on Christian radio traditionally, and I'm glad this is playing on 1,000 Christian radio stations right now, because you turn on Christian radio traditionally, it's going to be very positive, very hopeful. It should be, and I believe your song ends that way. But it's a tough topic to talk about right now.
Yeah, it really is. And so many people have experienced it and are experiencing it. And I think for me, I think the starting point that I like to say is the church is the greatest force for good in the entire world, right? Like we're doing more amazing things around the world to help people and than any other group of people. And, statistically we can see that. But in visiting 2,500 churches over the past 25 years, I can't ignore the fact that there's also a lot of people who have felt hurt or abandoned or displaced. And I think I came to a point where I was like, man, I had so many friends who were leaving the church, deconstructing their faith. And really, to be honest, I've been through it too, especially as a child. I watched my parents go through so much pain of church hurt, as we come to call it. And I watched them be faithful, keep serving the church. They always taught me and my brother, like, we serve God and not people. And so they were an amazing example, but it doesn't take away from the fact there are so many people on the fringes. And so where I would kind of wrap it for me, and explaining the message of the song is like, hey, if we want the church to be strong and we want to build the church to keep making a huge difference in the world, then we've got to care for the weak who are amongst us and on the fringes, and so, yeah.
Yeah. I think that sums it up well. And Will, I know that we played it for you as well. Will's pastor's son grew up with a lot of these same thoughts and questions, and you are seeing that sort of from a mainstream media point of view and from a Christian media point of view. You're right. The conversation around deconstruction, the conversation around people abandoning their faith, and some with reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if I don't agree with the end result,
Totally.
It's not like a lot of these people are coming out with things that they feel wronged for a reason.
Well, I would say there's two categories too of church hurt, which is like, you've got some people who there is like a clear abuser or manipulator or abuse of power, right? Where somebody like, hey, that's a totally different trauma experience that needs to have a deeper healing process. But a lot of people have just felt displaced relationally. They didn't fit. Maybe they were hurt, didn't know how to work through it. And, it's I think speaking to those people with empathy, I think that's why this song starts with the empathy piece. And part of my story, for me being a kid, driving away from the only church I ever knew with my parents, finding out we were never going to go back. And like that first sting. And I think, people, it's like to empathize with where they're at, ask the questions, do we put our faith ultimately in God or people? And then remember that Jesus was the first to be betrayed.
And you bring that up so often, and I see comments of people on Rumble echoing kind of the sentiment, though, that a lot of times I feel like the blame is then placed on Christ for the sins of the people that are imperfect people, as it mentions in the song, that Christ gets the blame for the sins of the people when the focus needs to remain on him, and that's where the redemption of those sins comes from. Yeah. And I love the narrative of the song as well, as it starts where it does and then ends up with the metaphor of what Christ went through from the institutional church in his day.
Yeah, we kind of have to get a movement behind it. I think it's a very important song, but as we said, it's a tough topic that I'm not sure everyone's ready to have the conversation about. Yeah. But I think it's important if you are involved in, it doesn't even matter if you go to church or not. A lot of us, especially those in positions like ours, have been through a lot of interesting things in church, goods and bads. And to have that conversation actually open up, I think, is very important. But I'm going to let you plug this real quick. There is a devotional that's available specifically on this. In the next segment, we're going to talk about a new project you got going on. Yeah. But for this, there's a devotional.
I knew the song would crack open big conversations. So I was like, okay, I can't cover that in a 4-minute song. So me and my buddy Eric Newberry actually wrote a 7-day devotional called Life After Church Hurt, which we made completely free. You can get it at my website. You don't even have to opt into my email list. I wanted no barriers for people to get this. Yeah, but it just opens up these conversations. We have to have hard conversations to get to the healing. And our hope is that we start this hard conversation and then help people get to that place of healing.
As you may have seen, if you're watching online, Matt performed at our office in D.C. during the March for Life. And you're working a lot with not only us, but with Save the Storks, who we work with quite a bit as well. And you've got something new rolling out. And again, another important resource, because you're going around, and look, I'd say this, you're a brave guy, because even in Christian music, I think most people who maybe have never been involved in the business side of the Christian music business, don't understand that taking these stances, even taking a pro-life stance, is not that easy.
No.
It's probably not even very encouraged at this point, because it's so divisive, it can be so part of the conversation. And sadly, people like you, and there are others as well, people like you are sort of some of the trailblazers and the torchbearers still for this movement.
Yeah. When we were pregnant with our third baby in 2010, his name's Bowen. He's 12 now. But we were told by many doctors because of his heart condition that we should abort. And so I think for us, we were sitting across from, on the other side of the desk from medical professionals telling us the right thing to do was to terminate our pregnancy. So, I think that gave me this innate empathy for people who deal with this every single day. And when I found out what Save the Storks was doing with the mobile units, 4 to 5 women stepping on these buses, choosing life, I got the opportunity to work with them, over the past probably 7 years. And most recently got to partner with them to actually start a project called Dare to Be a Dad. Because I was going around to all these pregnancy centers, looking at the resources, nothing for dads or very little, and nothing that certainly looked modern and good. So we did a 7-part series, a book and a video series that's coming out in the next few weeks. It's a free resource. Dare to Be a Dad, just challenging dads not only to step up and be the father they were called to be, but encouraging them that they have what it takes to do so.
Yeah, and that starts to change the conversation as we discussed, because as I said, there wasn't a lot of resource for dads. Because I'm sure the pregnancy centers, they are dealing with a lot of single mothers. They're dealing with a lot of people walking in not sure what to do. Probably not dealing with a lot of dads.
Yeah.
But if we can keep that conversation going, we could create something new. Again, it's about changing it all up, changing the way things are approached.
I'm speaking at 20 pregnancy centers a year, right? Going around helping them raise money, talking about these programs. And man, I'm watching these amazing people who are walking with mothers, not just through the pregnancy, but and way beyond, with free counseling, free services, free clothing. It's like you watch everything they're doing for them. Yeah, you're right. That's just a narrative just to attack. It's baseless.
So hopefully everybody who's listening, we can start this conversation to sort of change the way we even speak about it. I like the way the President Trump rolled it out, saying, let's incentivize the idea of adoption, and that could potentially bring down the number of abortions nationwide. That's a great move, because as much as I do think, and we are in those legal fights, guys, every week, we are in every state fighting these legal fights for these new restrictions and new rules that are coming out in support of the pro-life movement. But we also have to mentally start looking at different ways. And we only have a minute here, but Matt, I'm going to give you another minute, just plug not only Church Hurt, but your new dad series that's coming out. Because I think take this next minute, let people know how they can find you. I think it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Really appreciate you having me on, Logan and Matt. So Church Hurt, you can find, not only you can stream the song, watch the lyric video, and you can download the 7-day free devotional at matthammitt.com. And then here in the next few weeks, we're going to be rolling out Dare to Be a Dad by Father's Day. And you can find out more about that at savethestorks.com.
Awesome. Savethestorks.com. Share this with your friends. Share Church Hurt. Share everything that's going on. Let Matt know you heard about it here too. I appreciate that. And tell your friends about this sort of new movement that's happening within Christian music, because I think it's important. I think it's an important thing to happen. I said it earlier. I do believe it's one of the most important songs, if not the most important song that's come out in decades for this genre of music, if you will. It's important. It touches a lot of people. Go to matthammitt.com.